What is going on, everybody? It's Joel from JK Sports 7 here. The draft ended this weekend. A lot of excitement, a lot of storylines. We'll get into that later on this week. But I just want to stop by and do a quick overview of my thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers draft. They had 7 picks total in the draft. Um, a first, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and 2 seventh. Obviously lost the second round pick with the DK Metcalf trade, which best second round pick of the draft. Calling it right now for the Steelers. But it was a good draft. Drafted a lot of needs. It felt like the Steelers came into the draft with a plan. That plan was to draft a quarterback in the late rounds. I think they fully believe Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler, so there's no need to draft a quarterback early in this draft. Get one later on, add some competition for Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson, and then prepare next year for that quarterback class. That's what they did. They drafted a lot of needs. Obviously, you can tell by the position they drafted what their focus was and what they wanted to get better at. So let's kind of walk through the 7 picks here. Give a brief insight on them. I don't want to do a draft grade. It's too soon. It's too fresh. We need a year or so for them to play, see how they develop, see the kind of roles they're going to fill, to kind of really get a true accurate grade on how they do. But first pick, Derek Harmon. Been very high on this guy. I really thought he'd be gone. I was really convinced on him or Kenneth Grant being the pick. Kenneth Grant went quite a bit earlier, so Steelers didn't have a chance to get him. But Derek Harmon's a great fit. Can be in the D line, can learn. He kind of feels more like a Cam Hayward replacement, more than kind of being that nose tackle, D tackle, probably to the outside of D end. Great penetrator, good help against the run, which really got scorched. You kind of see another pick this draft as well. Helped up both on D line. The Ravens just shredded us in the playoff game, and we can't have that. So they're gonna, both on D line did twice in this draft, and I think Derek Harmon is a great fit for that position. Didn't have a second round pick, like I said. Missed on a lot of good players I like to have drafted. They obviously win, like a Jaden Higgins or some of the great receivers in there. We got DK Metcalf, who proven commodity. You got to take that for sure. And then the third round, running back. I think probably one of the top running backs on their board was Caleb Johnson. Love to see Quinshon Junkins or Trayvon Henderson there. They went early in the second round, so there's no chance for Pittsburgh to do that, make that trade up with no second round picks. I think Caleb Johnson was that top guy they wanted. They pinpointed him early in the process and brought him in. He's a Steelers guy. He's going to give you something different than what Jalen Warren and Kenneth Walker. He's a bigger back. He's 6'1", 230 almost. He's going to provide some physicality to the team. Which in that post-draft press conference, both Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin mentioned getting more physical, getting more physically aggressive, and just be able to punch him in the mouth a little more. I think losing Najee Harris, Caleb Johnson can step into that and fill a very similar role. Not saying they're the same player, but can do similar things that Najee Harris can do. Hopefully a little better. Najee Harris was consistent 1,000 rusher, but really didn't do as much as what was drafted. So I think the expectation for Caleb Johnson being a third-round pick is lower and can complement Jalen Warren, who's a great third down back, catching the ball in the backfield, making something happen, can do a lot of those type of things. And Caleb Johnson can really focus on being the primary running back, which I think what they're going to look for him to do in the next season. The next pick was a little bit of an eye opener at the surface level. Was Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Wasn't expecting them to go outside linebacker. You figure they have Highsmith and Watt and Herbig, who are fantastic. But they got another guy here to kind of work in that room with Jack Sawyer. But the more you think about it, it makes sense. Watt's missed time. Highsmith's missed time. You want to keep that 3-man rotation. And actually, they kind of relied on Jeremiah Moon. They brought Preston Smith in. They had to kind of fill that need in there. This doesn't give them 2 solid backups with Herbig and Sawyer. If one of those Watt or Highsmith goes down, they can step in and have so solid 3-man rotation. So initially, I was like, I don't love the pick. But what they did the rest of the draft, I think I'm okay with it. I would love him to go wide receiver here, but there wasn't a whole lot of options around 4. For me, a lot of those receivers that I thought would fall a little deeper went around 2 and around 3. I'd much rather have Caleb Johnson than a depth wide receiver. So I'm very happy with kind of the back-to-back picks there. Round 5, I went back to the D-line in Yahweh Black at the end. Like the pick. As more bolster that defense. You got to look for the future. I think Cameron Hayward's days are probably numbered next couple of years. So you have someone kind of take his role up and some more depth pieces there. They added some veterans in free agency, some cheap veterans in free agency, some that can help these guys along. I think you have 3 or 4 good guys who can jump in there and be playmakers, a good rotation. That's what it's all about nowadays is rotation. You want to scale back Hayward a little bit more. Now you can have guys fill that defense line out and be very strong. So I think you use Hayward more sparingly to help him survive the whole season. And when they get the playoff push, he's fresh, he's ready to go. So I don't hate the pick, like the pick. I thought they would go quarterback around 5, but I think the way the board fell, there were a lot of good quarterbacks still on the board when they took this pick. So I'm definitely okay with it. And they got their quarterback, Will Howard. I fell in love with Will Howard watching the Gruden quarterback camp, taking that for what he will. I'm a big fan of him, his personality, his playmaking ability. I think he's can be developmental, but I think he can compete for that second quarterback spot with Mason Rudolph. We're sitting at QB3. That probably ends the time for Skylar Thompson. Maybe the practice squad, but I think go in the season with hopefully Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, and Will Howard as your quarterback room. So kind of that AG veteran, kind of middle of the road veteran guy who's been around, started some games, who we feel comfortable filling in if you need to for Rodgers, and then you have Will Howard kind of develop and grow as the season goes along, and you'll get opportunity to play some games maybe next season, or the following season, if you will. Last 2 picks, Carson Bruner and Deontay Kent. 7th-round guys, not a whole lot of expectations on there. It kind of feels more almost like a special teams pick. Pittsburgh has been one of those teams that have prioritized special teams in multiple ways. Miles Killebrew has been on the team for a long time as a special teams guy. They paid him a lot more money than probably what he's deserved, especially for that safety position. But as a special teams guy, they prioritized him, kept him on the roster, and paid him out. I think you got 2 guys who can help contribute. With that, I think Bruner as an inside linebacker, we've got a lot of depth there as it is. With Holcomb there, Harris is there, Harrison's there. You have Payne Wilson, you have Patrick Queen. You have a lot of depth there, so I don't know if he's really fit in that role. But I think he's going to make his roster spot on special teams more than anything. Same with Deontay Kent. I like the position, add more depth to corner. It'd be really good. We have some guys there, but I think more competition is always better. But I think, again, he'd probably be looking more at special teams how to fit. Overall, I think it was a pretty solid draft, a lot of needs. I think this is a draft, I said from the very beginning, is we're going to draft starters, not superstars. I think they did that. I think you have a couple of players who can break out and be superstars, like the Caleb Johnson. I think he can be a top-tier running back for the next 4 years on your roster. I like Derek Harmon. Hopefully he can turn into the second becoming of Cameron Hayward would be fantastic. But I just want to stop by, guys, and give you my thoughts on the Steelers draft. Really enjoyed it. There'll be more draft kind of recap stuff coming out this week. But please subscribe to the video. We appreciate you guys so much. As always, I'm Joel at JK Sports 7. We'll catch you guys next time.